It's so hard to put something down with stripes. I was like, okay, but if I only do a couple more rows now, then it's the next blue stripe, and then I reached that point and I was like, oh, but the blue stripe is only 4 rows. And someone asked last week if I'd done a gauge wash and washed that to see if the colors bled, and I have not. And now I'm starting to get a bit worried about that, because it's not a yarn ban, it's just me limiting how much yarn I get. Because hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Olga and I'm knitting from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, my current project, finished projects, planned projects. Sometimes I talk about yarn, just everything that comes to mind while I sit here and chat with you. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. I am a little bit sick this week, so if my voice sounds a little bit weird, that's why. But before we get into everything, I wanted to talk about what I'm wearing today. And today I'm wearing my Violeta sweater, or the Violeta Pullover I think it's called, by Eweknit. I knit this in, I think it was February. I think I finished in February. It might have been early March. But this was like my designated February sweater. I try to make one knit for myself each month, and this was the one designated for February. I knit this in Drops Flora and Drops Kid Silk, and it is actually a bit warm to wear right now, but I really wanted to wear this. This is the only like pink sweater that I own, and I really love it. And I also think all of this lace work and all of the cables and the quite, I'd say, feminine pattern this has really suits the pink color. It works very well together. And I also had the pink Flora for this in my stash, so I only had to get the Mohair for this. And the pink Flora I had was quite like bright pink, and not a shade I loved, but paired with a really soft pink, leaning almost white beige Mohair, it turned into a lot more soft of a color, a lot more pleasant color, which I am absolutely in love with. But I haven't worn this sweater a lot, and most of it is because the color just sits really high up here. It does have German short rows, but the German short rows are a bit weird on this one. And also I have a confession to make. I still haven't blocked this one. I really wanted to have it done, and I wore it a lot once it was just finished, and there are a few ends that are not weaved in. I think just the ones under the sleeves, and I just never got around to blocking it. And I still have worn it, but then it got a bit warmer, so I didn't wear it, and now it isn't blocked, and the neckline is just a bit irritating. I do think and hope that with blocking it will like fix itself, because there are some German short rows in the back they just don't work right now. So hopefully that will fix itself, because it is like, it's almost like a boat neck, just a really tight one, because it kind of sticks out here, but it's really tight here, and I don't love that. So either if I wash it and it turns like this, I would love that, or if the whole thing just relaxes so I get a bit more space, because I don't love this part. And it's not like it's tight or anything, because you see there's more space, but this sweater has mohair, and while I have gotten better at like handling mohair, and it doesn't annoy me at all on the arms, even though I don't have anything under, that doesn't really annoy me. But on my neck I am a lot more sensitive, so I don't really want this like tight on my neck with mohair. I don't love that, so I just wanted to like give me a bit more space right on the neck here, because even if it hits me like a bit further down on the neck, that's fine, but like above my collarbone and up, that's really itchy and just uncomfortable. So that's like my main issue with this sweater, and I don't think it's like a true issue. I just think the issue is me not blocking it, and especially since this is like a heavily structured knit. It's like a knit that very typically needs a block to be able to fit right, and I think that's very true because the sleeves are also just a bit short and it sits a bit weird on the shoulder. But I think all of this really truly is that I haven't blocked it, and that's just a bit like bad of me to not have done that, even though it's been close to half a year. So me wearing this to this podcast is like me trying to give myself a kick in the butt to finally weave in the last few ends and just wash this, because it really deserves it. And it is a sweater I really like it for what it is. I just need it to be blocked and give me a bit more room up here, but other than that I really enjoy the lace. Lean in so you can see the lace a bit better. The lace in front here I think is so pretty, and it was so fun to do. It's kind of like this tulip leaves, I think, and then the beautiful cables, all of the cables. It has cables all around and then a cable down the sleeve as well. It's a really beautiful sweater, so I want to wear it more. I need to block it. And I also think the mohair and the whole sweater will get softer after it's been washed at least once. So no matter what happens with this, I think washing will do it a lot of good. So this is me vowing to get this washed as soon as possible. But that's really all I had to say about this Violeta pullover, and then we can move into my whips. And like regular, I will start with the wedding dress. I have gotten a good amount of progress done on the wedding dress this week, but I haven't done nowhere near the like right amount of skeins on it. I'm trying to do 1 skein on the wedding dress per 2 skeins on something else. And first of all, I kind of lost count on my skeins for other projects. One thing is, if I start a project that week, it makes it a lot easier, but if it's like a whip I carry over from another week, I kind of lose track of what skein did I use last week, what skein did I use this week. So I think I need to start like noting it down. That made one issue for me, and also I'm trying to alternate what projects I work on, and this week it was the mohair skirt, and the mohair skirt is knit on 8mm needles, and my hands doesn't really like that. I can handle 7mm needles fine, like I can knit a lot on 7mm needles, I found out, but 8mm needles is just too big. 8mm and above I just really can't do, or I can do it but in shorter periods of time. And the mohair skirt is an 8mm needles, which means it does progress quickly when I knit on it, but it also severely limits the amount of time I can spend knitting on it. So that definitely affected how much I got to knit on this week, but I still got a lot of progress done. So here is the mohair skirt. Last week it could fit into frame. It doesn't really now. If I lean back, it does. So this is it now. It's starting to get really big. It's still not starting to get heavy because it is mohair. But let's see. I have these progress markers in, if you can see them. Here is where I started a couple of weeks ago, and that's what I did the week I started this project of knitting skein per skein. And then from this gold marker here to the needles is what I did this week. So that is a good amount of progress. It is about like 20 centimeters, which is, I'm really happy with that, even though it isn't as much as it should be if I had matched the skeins used on this to the skeins used on other projects. But 20 centimeters done in a week is still really good, and if I keep up like this, it's going to just fly by. And those 20 centimeters equals to, I did 2 skeins on the wedding dress first, so 1 skein of each, and then I got started on these ones, and then my hand was just cramping up too much. It didn't make sense to keep going, because if I'd kept going, yeah, I would maybe get like 2 more centimeters, but that would ruin my hand, and then I would get less done this week on both the main wedding dress that I'm going to knit on this week and all of my other projects, and that's just not worth it, trying to knit enough skeins just to ruin my hands. That doesn't really make sense, so of course I didn't do that. But I'm really happy with my progress. It was really fun to work on this and just see it progress really quickly, and I love this color. I've also tried to figure out ways to knit more evenly, because mohair is not always the easiest to get an even tension in, especially when you knit with such big needles, because I'm knitting with a lot larger needles than really makes sense for the mohair, so the stitches get really open, and I find really with any type of yarn, when you have kind of a gauge that's really not tight at all, it's a bit harder to keep even tension. But I figured out if I knit with the 8mm needles, and then the other needle I think is 6mm, so it's a lot easier to push the stitches and knit them. That gives me the most even tension, so that's what I'm doing, and I think the tension is like pretty even. Here you can see. And it's just getting like ridiculously big. It's so many stitches, it's so long, and even though this weighs like nothing, it is really big, even if I try to like make it as small as possible. So that's really fun. Having a lot of fun just knitting on the wedding dress, seeing it progress and seeing it turn more and more into a wedding dress, and trying to like figure out what to do with it. I have been thinking about maybe sewing in pearls into this mohair skirt as well, because I feel like the white and the blue together and the mohair and the silk kind of makes this a bit shimmery, because it has some like darker spots and some lighter spots where the white seeps through more, and also the silk is a bit shiny, so I think pearls could work well with this, just a few pearls here and there throughout the skirt. I also don't 100% know how the shape of the skirt is going to be. Right now it's just poofy. I don't know if I want to add more poof. I still have a lot of yarn left, and I do have a lot of centimeters left on this as well, but I am fairly certain that I'm going to have yarn left over, and I think I'm going to do some other accessories with the yarn as well. But I've also been thinking about this is like going to be the main skirt that's going to be all the way down to my feet, and I don't know if I'm going to have an extra poof like at ankle level to give it a bit more poof there. But I've also been thinking about making a second skirt that is the same as this but stops a lot higher, and then I can wear that other skirt underneath this to give this even more of a poof. Kind of double layer it to give the whole thing a lot more poof. So you would have this, but then you have another layer underneath, kind of like tulle. If you layer those multiple times you get more poof. So I've been thinking about that as well, just another skirt underneath this that would be like, I don't know, mid-thigh length maybe, just to give it a bit more poof right around there. I don't know, that also might be really warm, because all of this I figure is going to get really warm, even though it's going to be winter and cold. I don't want to be too warm either, so it's a lot to think about, but also having leftover yarn after this project would just be nice, because anything I would make with that leftover yarn would also be really special, because it would be made using my wedding dress yarn. So I don't know, there are a lot of possibilities, but this is the mohair skirt after this week, and now this is going to go into hibernation for a week, which will be nice. Another thing I didn't mention is that we've been I did mention that I'm sick, but we've been sick this week, lots of coughing, everything, and knitting on something in mohair was maybe not the best during that time, because I haven't really noticed before, but it might be because I just knit on this a lot more this week. But oh my god, does mohair shed. It got in my mouth and I just felt for hours after knitting on this project. I just wanted to pick like tiny hairs out of my mouth, and they were so tiny that I just couldn't feel it, but it just felt like I was eating hairs, and I would just sneeze all the time while knitting on this, and my mouth would get so dry and everything would just feel like full of hairs, which also is scaring me a little bit because I don't want to wear this and just have to sneeze all the time. So I think when this is finished, I'm going to put it in the freezer, and then once it's like been frozen, shake it, because I've heard that that gets rid of a lot of the excess fibers, the fibers that easily shed. You get rid of those that way, and then you only have the fibers that are kind of stuck to the silk left. So I might do that just to see, because I don't want to feel like my mouth is full of hair on my wedding day, and I feel like that might be a possibility with all of this mohair. But that's the plan. And then next week I'm going to work on my wedding dress, which I'm excited to see. It does take me a lot longer to make progress on the wedding dress, but I also can work a lot more on the wedding dress without it hurting my hands, because it's on 4mm needles. So I can work day and night all the time on the wedding dress without it hurting my hand. I also have other projects that I want to work on, so that's probably not going to happen. But I don't really have a limit when it comes to 4mm needles, but it does take a lot longer, so I'm excited to see how much progress I make on that. In like what compared to this, but that's what I did on the wedding dress this week. And then of course I have all of my striped projects, which I am super excited about. So again, my trusty basket with my striped projects, and we'll go by the oldest whip to the newest again. That is my favorite way of doing it. So we'll start with the Marseille sweater junior that I'm knitting for my son. I'm knitting this in merino extra fine in the off-white and a blue color. I can't remember what it's called, but it's number 23. And yeah, this is the Marseille sweater. This has been a great whip. It's really mindless because it's just stuck knit. I don't know where I was last week. I think I had the back yoke done maybe. So I've done the shoulders and the front yoke, which is my favorite part of any project to do. Pick up the stitches, that's not my favorite part, but do more German short rows, do shoulder shaping, do the increases for the neckline, connect them, knit it long enough, and then finally be able to connect in the round. All of that, I love it. And the back yoke is nice, but there's something about like knitting each of the shoulders, doing the increases. I really love it. So that is the Marseille, and I was supposed to only like work a bit on this here and there because it's a mindless project, and that's great to just have, but it got so addictive and it's so hard to put something down with stripes. I was like, okay, but if I only do a couple more rows now, then it's the next blue stripe, and then I reached that point and I was like, oh, but the blue stripe is only 4 rows, and also on a kid's garment the rows go by so quickly, so it's really easy to rob yourself into just all of a sudden having done all 3 stripes, which happened to me. So it has progressed really quickly, and then I did the ribbing down here, which took so long. I don't know why, but ribbing takes so long. If it's more than 4 centimeters of ribbing, 4 centimeters I can do quite quickly, but this is 6 centimeters of ribbing, and centimeter 5 and centimeter 6 took so long. I don't know why, but after 4 centimeters it just stops growing, I guess. But I really like this. This ribbing is also done on the same millimeter needle as the body, so it gets more of like a boxy fit that the Marseille has. That's really lovely. And then I did that quite early on in the week because I just could not put this down. And then I did the neckline yesterday, which also is a bit chunky. I'm a bit afraid it's going to be too much like that, but also I think this is going to block out more like this, and then it's going to be fine. As I said, I was supposed to work a bit slower on this, but I also think it's really nice that I've been working quickly on this because my son's birthday is coming up. I think it's this Tuesday, which means there are so few days until, and we have not planned anything really. We don't plan birthdays out a lot. We gather up the whole family and celebrate, but nothing huge. But I'm trying to finish everything before his birthday, and I really wanted to give him this as well, and a couple of other things I still have yet to weave in the ends on. But now I only have the sleeves to do, so that's a lot more likely that I'll be able to finish this and finish weaving in all of the ends, because there are a lot of ends to weave in on the Marseille. I don't know why. I try to limit it, but the shoulder construction and the neckline and the stripes, everything, it just adds up. So quite a few ends to weave in on this one, but I only have the sleeves and the ends left, and then it's done, which is nice because while I do have quite a few knitted pieces to gift him, I also really wanted to be able to knit him at least one stuffed animal. I would love to make him multiple stuffed animals. I have them, what is it called? Ivo the polar bear. I have that pattern by Arctickids, and then I think that's what the designer is called. And then I really want to make the octopus that designer has, and the lion would be really cool. And the whale, I have multiple patterns from her that I really love, that I would love to make my son, but I also have to be realistic with what I have the time to do, because I have multiple things that needs ends and buttons weaved in. I have to wash, I also have to finish this one, and then I would have to start. But I also know that when I made the twins, my twin cousins, their christening gift, I did that in just like half a day, and I made 2 Ivo the polar bears then. So if I finish all of this by Sunday, all of the weaving in ends, all of the washing, all of the knitting, if I finish all of that by Sunday, I'll have maybe Sunday evening and all of Monday to knit stuffed animals. I don't know if I have any stuffing, but I'll figure that out, and I hope to at least make one, the Ivo the polar bear, because I know how to make that one, and then I'd love, or anything else I got to do would just be a great plus, but I would love to make him at least one, and like hopefully like 5 or I like hopefully 10 probably, because I love so many different ones. But if I get to do one, I'll be pleased. But this is the Marseille sweater so far. It's been great to knit up, and when I did my Marseille sweater, I know on my Marseille sweater that this here with the pickup line and where you do the German short rows on the front and the back side is a lot more obvious on my Marseille sweater, even after washing and blocking. So this is kind of a testament to me and my knitting getting better over the last 2.5 years. So I think that's really nice to knit some of the same pieces with the same construction, same everything, just to see if I'm evolving as a knitter, because I don't want to stagnate. So that's also been really fun about this project, and I can't wait to do the sleeves now. I think this will be really cute, and I have a Marseille sweater too, so we'll be almost matching, which I'm also really excited about. And I think this is going to also be such a comfortable sweater, because it has a really comfortable fit. It's almost like a sweatshirt. So I'm just really excited about this for a lot of different reasons. But that is the Marseille sweater. And then my last whip, and I think the thing this week that I've spent the most time on and given the most attention is the Olga sweater. I'm knitting this in Sandnesgarn Smart, which is not exactly the yarn you're supposed to do. I think you're supposed to do Petiteknit, but my yarn store didn't have that in the colors that I wanted, or they didn't have enough, so I decided to go with Sandnesgarn Smart in red and white. And someone asked last week if I'd done a gauge wash and washed that to see if the colors bled, and I have not. And now I'm starting to get a bit worried about that, because I have knit a lot with different colors, like my Marseille sweater, which is white and black, and that didn't bleed at all. But I think red is one of the colors that's known for bleeding the most, so I'm a bit worried now. My mom has said if it turns out to be pink and red, if it bleeds and turns it pink and red, she'll take it. My mother loves pink and red combinations. She's done that all my life. I don't like it, probably because my mother likes it so much, so I do have like a backup plan of gifting it to her. But I think now that I maybe should do a swatch to see if it bleeds, because if it bleeds, there are some things you can do to avoid it bleeding, the red. I don't know, I think so, so maybe I should do a swatch, but I also hate doing swatches, so we'll see. But this is it, my Where's Waldo sweater. I am loving knitting on this. I have brought this with me everywhere this week. I even went to a local music festival this week, and I brought this project. It was a lot smaller then, so it was easier to bring. But I brought this, and everyone was laughing at me for bringing my knitting, but I got to do a little bit of knitting. I didn't get to knit a lot, but I did do some knitting, and I don't know, I like bringing my knitting everywhere. I'd rather bring it and not knit than not bring it and regret it. But this has been my main project this week. It's been a lot of fun. I don't know where it was last week. I think I'd finished the German short rows in the back, and of course now I've finished the whole back yoke. I've picked up stitches for the shoulder again, my favorite thing to do. Done the shoulder, done the increases to make the neck shaping, connected it, made the front yoke, finished the front yoke, and then connected in the round, as you can see. I have been thinking a lot about not my color choices, but my choice to make white the main color, because in the pattern it states very obviously that your darker color should be your main one, and then the lighter one should be the contrasting color. And I didn't do that because I think red is such an overpowering color that I didn't want the red to be the main color as well, because I feel like the white would drown in that. So I decided to do the white as the main color to kind of compensate for the red being so strong. And I'm happy with that, but I think, for example, here where I picked up stitches, I think it might have looked like cleaner if it was the darker color. I still really like the look of this, but let me try to show. I'm just going to try to fold it to show if it was more like this. I think that might have been cleaner, where you see that like the red stripe, that gives more of a cleaner look than this. I don't know why, but it just does. But even though that might be, I'm still really happy with my choice, because I still think red is quite easily overpowering, and I want this to be like a lighter, brighter, summery sweater, and I like my choice to have white be the main color, even though it doesn't look weird. I just think it might have been like a cleaner transition with the red, but that might just be me also. So that's one big difference I've made. And I've also made another difference to the pattern. The pattern says you're supposed to do, I've already done the neckline because I like to do that as early as possible. The pattern says you're supposed to do the neckline in just one color, and you're supposed to do it in your main color. So for me that would be white, but I had already noticed then that doing white as like the pickup color didn't look as clean. And also, if you see around the neckline, there are a lot of white stripes. This white stripe in the front is really small, but all of the stripes surrounding the neckline was white. So I thought I'd really enjoy to do, I thought that would be nice to do red next to that, so it would kind of carry on the stripes where you do 4 of one color and then 4 of the other. And then I thought a bit about just doing a red color, but I also didn't want red around my face because I feel often when I have red right around my face looks really red, and I didn't want that. So I thought I'd just bring the stripes into the neckline. So I did 4 of the red, and then I changed into white and did white for the rest, because I also wanted this part where you knit down to be white, so it wouldn't steal any attention, because you're not really supposed to pay attention to the inside of the neckline. So I just wanted that to be white no matter what, and this is what it turned out to look like. It is a really skinny neckline. I think that with a lot of the ribbing on the Olga is just really skinny, and that's true for the neckline as well, but I am really happy with how I decided to do it with the stripes, and I feel like the neckline melts even more into the fabric by doing it that way, just like the ribbing on the arms, on the sleeves and on the body. Those really melt into the fabric because they're done in stripes for the Olga, and since I did stripes for the neckline as well, it really melts in, and especially on the back where all of the stripes are the correct length, it really looks like a part of the fabric because all of the stripes are the right length instead of just one solid color up here. So I'm really happy with that, and I'm really happy it ended with white, which is my main color, and also I think white closest to my face will be better than red closest to my face. So I did that, and luckily I'm very happy about it. I also decided to do the neckline this early because I wanted time to sit with it, because I was so unsure, am I going to do all white like the pattern says you're supposed to do your main color, am I going to do all red kind of for the contrast, but that would kind of defeat me doing white as the main color because that red would be really overpowering then, or am I going to do stripes? I didn't really know, so I did it early to sit with it, but I think it's not that many days since I did the color, but I am in love with it, so I think this is how it's going to be. I still have not tried this on, but I am really close to trying it on. I have knit far enough on the body now. I have done, I don't know, a bit under 10 centimeters on the body, but that is just about the length I like to have done before I try it on for the first time, so it's not super awkward with needles right underneath my armpit, but this is a good length to be able to try it on, so hopefully I'll be able to try it on today. I think I have used about half of the yarn that I bought, so that would mean I'm about halfway. I am more than halfway done with the body and then the sleeves left, and I am so excited to wear this sweater. And for this, just as the Marseille sweater, it is so hard to put down because these stripes just keep me going, and especially these stripes because there are just 4 rows of color each, so you change color so often, which really makes it easy to just get sucked into this project and never let it down. It's put it down because it's just 1 more row until the next color, and then I just want to do the first row with this color, and but I'm always halfway done with this color, but I'm halfway done, then I'm almost done, just 2 more rows, and then that just continues. And I think this has grown really quickly, even though I've been at the festival this week and we've been sick. So maybe I'll have a new sweater next week already. That would be really nice. I am so excited for this sweater, can't wait to wear it, can't wait to be a Where's Waldo impersonator in real life. I can't like articulate how excited I am for this project. But that is all for my active projects this week. I don't have any finished projects this week because I've been too busy working on the Olga and the wedding dress to finish anything, and those were two big projects this week to get them finished this week. But even though I don't have any finished projects, I do have a couple more things to show you. But before I show you the next thing, I thought I'd weave in some ends. I did a video this week where I started weaving in ends just for me to have a bit of motivation to start. And that was great. I did get ends weaved in. I weaved in the ends for 3 pieces, which is a lot more than I've been doing lately. So that was great, and got me kick-started, and now it's just up to me to keep that going. And I got a comment on that video that said that maybe each podcast I should just do a little segment where I weave in ends and just chat, just to keep me accountable and to keep me going weaving in ends. And I thought that was a great idea, so I'm just going to pack away these that are finished now, and then I'm going to weave in ends on hopefully one whole piece more, and just keep that going. Hopefully you guys also think that's okay. I'm just going to go pack these away and find my needle, and then I'm going to weave in some ends. I've got my needle, and I thought while we're here and supposed to weave in ends, we might as well weave in the ends on this one. So I am one step closer to being ready to wash it, and as I said, I think this whole thing only has 2 ends to weave in because it has Italian bind off, and then I just weave in that end while I'm already there with a needle. And since the rest of this is knit with non-superwash yarns, I have spit spliced all of the ends on where I changed skeins, so there was literally only 2 ends to weave in, and even though that's the case, it's taken me 6 months to do it, so I am definitely not the best at this whole weaving in business, but I hope that me filming myself weaving in ends and making an own segment for that will help me and keep me accountable. And I'd also love that, please tell me what you want me to talk about in this segment, because it's just going to be me chatting away while finally getting to weave in these ends. So whatever you want me to talk about, tell me, and I can talk about that while weaving in ends. I don't quite know what to talk about today. Maybe talk about some of my yarn plans. I feel like I have so many knitting plans lately. I have all these plans. I have so much I want to knit, but I just feel my knitting time is a bit limited, and I should also focus on my wedding dress, and I also have so many plans for that, and I have so many plans for other things I want to knit as well. I want my sister to have a cardigan and my son to have a cardigan, and I want to make December bows, and I want to make myself a shawl, and maybe I want to make myself a cardigan or sleeves for the wedding dress that are detachable. I have so many knitting plans and I don't know where to start, and I'm also a bit unsure if I should start on anything else while I'm still knitting on the wedding dress, or if I should only focus on finishing that and then see what I have the time to do afterwards. And just like that, this is done. I've weaved in all of the ends, but I'm going to do this as well because I have just a couple more ends on this to weave in, and I tried to start weaving in ends, or I did start weaving in ends on this in the video I filmed all about weaving in ends, and this was horrible to weave in ends for. I am not looking forward to the adult sized of this. This is the Sunday Sweater Junior that I made, my friend, and her son, and I don't know which of the yarns it is, if it is the Drops Ear or it is the Dale Silk Erle, but this was horrible to weave in the ends for. It got all up in my mouth, and it just honestly made it hard to breathe. I also think it's way harder to weave in ends than knit, because with knitting I can keep it quite far away, but with weaving in ends I have to keep it closer, because I really have to keep an eye on what I'm doing, because weaving in ends does not come as easy to me, so I have to really make sure it turns out okay, and therefore it is a lot closer to my face and probably easier to breathe in the fabric, because I can't really understand weaving in ends and settling the fabric more than knitting it, and I had no problem with getting fibers in my mouth while knitting this, so I don't know, maybe I'm a bit more sensitive to all of the fibers flying off because I am a bit congested, don't know, but yeah, if I was only knitting pieces like this, which were super hairy, lots of mohair, lots of blow yarn, I don't think I would weave in ends, because it's not pleasant to weave in ends on projects like this. But yeah, I really like this idea of doing this, because now it doesn't feel as much like a chore, and after weaving in 2 more ends now, I'm going to have woven in ends for 2 more pieces, and I still have a lot to go, but if I keep going like this, I'm going to empty my basket soon, and then I can just keep going like this every time I have ends to weave in. This week I also have to weave in a lot of ends off camera, because I can't sit here and babble on until I've woven in all the ends for all of my son's projects, because there's still probably like 3 more projects for him. For reference, this is the basket you see, even though I'm soon done with my 5th thing I need to weave in ends on. You can't really see a dent in the basket, but I know there are multiple really large projects in there, and a lot of those large projects does not have that many ends to weave in, so they take up a lot of space, but they won't take up a lot of time to finish, so hopefully that's going to help. But I'm trying to work my way down there, but I don't think that's going to make sense this week, because I am on a bit of a time crunch when it comes to project for my son, so I can't really prioritize working my way down there in the order it's been knit in. I just have to dig through it and find all of the projects for my son and finish those. But this is the Sunday Sweater Junior, and now that's done, and then I've also finished my Violeta sweater, so now all of this can be washed. And I did say that in my video, on my video on Wednesday where we woven in ends, but I wash all of my knits in the washing machine, and I usually wash multiple at a time, but I do color code it, so these will not be washed together, because this is pink and this is blue, so that won't happen. But I do have some black and dark blue, black, dark green. All of those will probably be washed together, and then this will be washed. I think this might be washed alone. I'm really careful with my reds and pinks, because those are the ones that color off the easiest in my opinion, and then I wash like light grays, beiges, white together, and then I just use regular wool detergent. So I'm going to have quite a few washes to do, but I am getting closer to my goal of getting through all of these projects and weaving in the ends. But that's all I'll do for now, and then next week I'll be back with even more projects, definitely. I'm not going to put the Violeta back on because I want to keep it there with other projects, so I'm sure it will be washed. And then the last thing that I want to talk about today is that I have gotten more yarn, and I am supposed to be on a yarn ban, and it's not a yarn ban, it's just me limiting how much yarn I get, because it's not that I am unhappy with my yarn stash now, because I am not. It is big, but it's not uncomfortably big, it's just big, and I want to make sure it doesn't get bigger, because with all of the yarn I have now, I have plans. I know that I can't knit all of this yarn in a year. I also know that, but I know that this is about like 2 years maybe of yarn consumption for me. I do knit a lot every year. I average, I've logged absolutely everything I knit for, I think this is going to be my 4th year, and I average right below 20 kilos knit each year. So with a yarn stash at about 35 kilos, I know that lasts me about 2 years, and I have plans for most of it, and I know most of it's going to get used, but I don't want it to grow kind of further than that, because 2 years I can keep to my plans for 2 years, but if it grows into like 3 years, 4 years, and then it grows so much, so it's 5 years, 10 years ahead, that's not likely. I might not even like the same yarn qualities by then, so I don't want it to grow bigger, and I also kind of want it to be smaller. I love going yarn shopping in my own stash, but I think the best case for me would be to be at around like 20 kilos, so I can pick and choose any project that I want and have a lot of yarn, because I really like that I don't have to like go yarn shopping and order yarn every time I want to knit something, because when I want to knit something I want to do it right away. So having a large stash is nice. I've tried both things, having a large one, and I think less than 2 years ago I also only had 1 kilo in my stash, and I like this a lot better. But best case for me would to only have like yarn for the next year, so right around 20 kilos would be best for me. So that's why I'm on a like limited yarn buy, also because I have yarn and I have plans, so I don't really need more yarn, but so that's why I'm limiting it, and to also kind of try to work my way down towards 20 kilos. But I am also, knitting is my hobby. I want to knit the things I really want to knit on, and sometimes the thing I most want to knit on isn't in my stash at that time. So sometimes I get more yarn, and this week I didn't this week, but I got the yarn this week. I did buy this yarn a while ago, but I bought it through my friend, and she drove by this week, so I finally got it. And I have gotten Drops Daisy. I love Drops Daisy, and I feel a bit bad for the first Drops Daisy I got that I still haven't knit with, and now I knit with 2 other colors instead. But I got Drops Daisy in this lovely red. It is a lot more orange in person than I expected it to be. I think it looks redder on camera even, but it is quite orange in person. But I have this Mohair to pair it with, and this is more burgundy in person, and also pink in person than I thought it would be. So none of these are true reds, but hopefully together they'll be a nice red color. And my plan for these is to make the Levitate wrap, and I also don't know if this is going to be the perfect yarn for that, but I think a Levitate wrap in these yarns is going to be great. And I wanted the Levitate wrap for really long, and I don't have yarn for it in my stash, and I haven't really known what yarn I would do. But this yarn was on sale, both of these were on sale, and it was quite a good sale, so I couldn't stop myself. And I think it would be a really comfortable Levitate wrap, and a Levitate wrap I would really love, even though it won't be like exactly the fabric and the feel and maybe the like flow of the fabric that the original one has. I think this will be great. I will probably have to do a swatch with these colors, just because they are so different both than I imagine them, and also like next to each other quite a big difference. I almost never do gauge swatches for the actual gauge. I do it to check color, to check if the colors will bleed, to try out a new pattern, like structure, all of that, but almost never to do like an actual gauge swatch. But I'm excited to see this. I also think in the original there was a bit of play between the colors, so I think this will be nice, and I'm so excited. I think this will be really good, but I also think Mohair right now is really making my cough act up, so I'm not going to cast this on right away. I need a little break from wearing, knitting and weaving in ends on anything with Mohair, because the fibers are really bugging me out. I don't usually have such a big problem with it, but I'm just going to take a break. And my active project this week, none of them have any Mohair, so that's going to be nice. The main wedding dress is also what I'm going to be knitting on this week, and that doesn't have any Mohair, so it's going to be nice. But I just had to show these. I think I got 10 of the Drops Daisy and maybe 5 of the Kid Silk, so I'm super excited for this. This will probably be a project in August. I feel like this will be a great August project. And also, can you tell I'm a bit obsessed with red lately? I also have multiple red projects waiting for my son, and it's a struggle every day to not cast them on. I love red lately, and I have more red over here for the Elizabeth blouse that I also hope to knit somewhere around August, and then probably in September the other Daisy yarn will finally see the light of day and be turned into the zipper sweater. So I have so many projects. I don't know how to have the time for all of them, but I'm so excited for all of them, and I really want to knit on my projects when I am super excited for them. So that's that. But I did grow my yarn stash this week, and I did grow it last week, but I'm fine with that. It shrunk a lot before then, and it's going to shrink again, and I don't really have any projects right now that I am wanting that much and that I've been searching for the yarn for, because the Olga I really wanted, didn't search for yarn quite that long on that boat, but the Levitate I wanted for super long and just looked and thought about it a lot. I don't really have any projects like that right now, so I think it's going to be a little while before I get more yarn. I do have one project for my son I'm looking for yarn for, but that's only like 200 grams anyway. But that is it for this week, for all of the yarn I got, for all the projects I've been knitting on, weaving in ends. I'm really happy with everything I got through this week and everything I got to do. I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast as well. If you did, please leave a like and a comment. That means the absolute world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!